enough money to spend money in your community, then your community is going to die. It's just Econ 101. You have to give them money to spend money, because the businesses that they work for, if they can't buy the product that they're making, it doesn't make any sense. So yes, we do need to do that. We have a number of successful businesses developments going on right now. The old Copley building is employing union labor. They didn't walk away because they had to pay a prevailing wage. They didn't do that. There was new development going in downtown Aurora. They will be paying the prevailing wage. They're not going anywhere. So the notion that this is going to incentivize people to come here is just not true. We have a number of people coming here. They know what the cost is. The laborers are going to make money. They're going to have a better condition. They're going to be able to spend money in our community, and they're going to remember that Aurora was supportive of that. And I will tell you, the labor community is behind that 100%. So we are a blue collar community. And we want to keep our blue-collar people here, and we need them to spend money here, and this is one way that we can do it. We can partner with everybody and make the whole thing work out well for us.
Okay, well, of course, we should expect that if we're giving somebody a break to employ people, that they pay a fair wage. What a crazy idea to not even do that. Yeah, it's called prevailing wage. And is it pro-union? Yes, it's pro-union. Am I pro-union? Yes, I am pro-union. Because the union historically has been what has built the middle class in the United States. And it's one of the things that maintains the middle class in the United States to the extent that is possible. There's no reason that we should give money to somebody, have poor as well as rich and middle class people pay a business, give them some of our tax breaks, tax money, so that they can underpay people who are working here in Aurora. That would be crazy. That would say, take blood from one arm and then just take it from the other arm too. No, we do the right thing. We support our workers, we support our own economy, and we say, you pray for what the work that you get, you pay the prevailing wage.
Yes, I would support that. My mother was a nurse, she was a union member, and she raised 5 kids, and if it wasn't for that union, we'd probably be in the poorhouse. I believe that we should do, right? If we're given our own tax dollars, we should demand an equal playing field for all, and not just a prevailing wage. We got to make sure about our contracts. We got to make sure the minorities and women are covered under these contracts. It's our dollars and our community. We want to make sure that those people actually live in our communities, not to just have a minority contract and they're from outside. We want to make sure they live here, and that's where the money stays. If we start by there, if we start with ideas of caring about each other first and looking to help each other instead of paying people student loans to come live here, that would be a much better idea. Because we're the 2nd largest city in the 6th largest state in the most powerful country in the world. But yet, they let us act as second class. Well, that ends this election. We have to stop enabling the city council. And I'm going to tell you, there's a great sort of AA program for it. It's called VOTEMEOUT 2019. Vote Me Out 2019. Let's remember that, because we really do need change. Has it really changed in the last 15 years? I'll give some of the city council members 15 years of their 33 years as a learning curve. I have a doctorate. I think I could figure it out in 8 months.
Thank you. The next question is first for candidate Orr. Would you support an ordinance that would prohibit city officials from disclosing information about a person's citizenship or immigration status unless it was required to do so by legal process?
I would support it because I remember growing up knowing one of my close friends that I have actually lost contact with now. She was actually a DACA recipient. So I firsthand would understand how it feels when you get the privilege of coming to America and experiencing this place and not wanting to go back because of the reasons why you came here. You feared, the murders, the violence that is happening down there, in your native countries, and there were reasons why you fled to this place. One video that always kind of touches in my heart is when I watch one of the speeches by Ronald Reagan where he talked about a prisoner of war who actually came over here during Vietnam, and he got the ability to live here, and when the war ended, he went back home. But he said that those were the best years of his life because he got to feel like an American. He got to experience what we get to feel. So I would support that fully on the city council.
Well, right, excuse me. Right now, our policy is in the city not to disclose a people's citizenship. And I support that policy 100%. I think people in our community should feel safe and not have to look over their shoulders as they go about their day, be it to work or dropping their children off to school or running their errands or just plain enjoying our community. And I support the policy that we've had in our community. I'm not sure if we need to go the total route of the ordinance. I need to listen to both sides of the equation, but I think we're doing a good job in making sure that the undocumented feel safe in our community, and I support that.
Thank you for that question. As an advocate for immigrant rights, I would support it 110%. A welcoming city to me is an understanding that prosperity comes when everybody feels that they belong, regardless of ethnicity, immigration status. That in turn gives us a community that feels safe. If there's a crime that's committed, wouldn't you want that person to say, I saw this, I saw that person do that? But if they're in fear because of their immigration status, to work with the police department or an entity of law enforcement because they're in fear of being deported. I know this because I have worked with many immigrants that are undocumented, and that's their number one fear, that if they come forward, will I be deported? Having an ordinance like this or really enforcing it, I think would be creating safer communities. Thank you.
Could you repeat that question?
Would you support an ordinance that would prohibit city officials from disclosing information about a person's citizenship or immigration status unless required to do so by legal process?
So if we're talking about warrants that are issued for illegal conduct, then I would not support that. I would support what we have been doing, which is basically not putting our people in a position where they should feel a fear. Aurora has, and I know the last couple of years have been, this has been a hot topic. For a long time, because of diversity in our city, Aurora has been cutting edge on dealing with our immigration laws, dealing with our Hispanic community. We've been giving a lot of money to Family Focus for education, Dominican Literacy Center. What I wouldn't want to do is sign an ordinance where the federal law would be usurped by what we do. And but I do believe that we do a very good job of this. I do believe that we do not want to make our community feel as though they can't come to the law enforcement if we need some cooperation with them. They feel safe in their homes. But at the end of the day, if there is a federal law that usurps that, and as Chief Zeman has said, we need to keep a good relationship with federal law enforcement. So if it does not violate, if it does not go against the grain of what federal law can do here, I will certainly support that.
I was a little confused by that answer. I can tell you as a lawyer that there is nothing the city can do that usurps federal law. And I believe the question, could you read the question back again?
Would you support an ordinance that would prohibit city officials from disclosing information about a person's citizenship or immigration status unless required to do so by legal process?
And I think unless required to do so by legal process is key. Yeah, I would support such an ordinance. In fact, I think the city should not be disclosing any personal information that it's not required to do. I think that's something they owe to all of us. Have I worked with people who have immigration issues, illegal issues? Yes, I have. I do a lot of divorce work. I chose to work in Aurora. Of course, I have represented some of these families. And yes, it's a problem. And yes, sometimes we have issues where people who aren't legal, they work underground, under the table, and we don't get all the tax dollars on that. And sometimes we have situations where people don't pay child support because nobody can prove that they're making money. There are a lot of issues and a lot of problems that happen because people are hiding. And if this one little thing would help, I'd certainly be in favor.
Yes, I would be in favor of that ordinance. I want to make sure that anybody can come to our police department that feels threatened, that feels violated, that might have been raped, that feels in fear of their lives, because they need to have a welcoming experience. They don't need to be asked, by the way, are you legal to be here? Not my business right now. I'm an average citizen. John Q. Public. Even as an alderman, I'd much rather know that you're having a good life living here than what your legal status is here, because that's important to us. I think we forget about the meaning of life when we start to look at ordinances and how that affects us. Yes, the federal government could come in and take away a person even for tax evasion. We see it happen a lot in Chicago with corruption. And we have ethics problems here alone inside our city where the aldermen run away from an ethics vote. And that's something that we have to look at.
That's a question dear to my heart. I'm probably the only candidate up here that has ever been an illegal immigrant. I had gone to Russia for 7 years, and as part of it, I opened up businesses and built buildings and such, but I was a tourist, I was a businessman, so for 7 years, basically, I was an illegal immigrant. And I found that the more comfortable I got in the society, the better I worked and the easier I was able to get around and do things and help improve the society. Now, Aurora here is pretty much the stepping stone, the center of migration up from Central America, and that is part of the strength that is being pulled into Aurora. The problem is it keeps on going. So if we make it a little bit more amiable to the people that live here or have come here so they can develop and help develop the society, I'm more for it.
Our next question goes first to candidate Seville. Would you support a feasibility study of removal of the east and west Stolp Island dams on the Fox River?
In 1986, I proposed the establishment of a Riverwalk Commission for purposes of Can you hear me? For establishing economic development, redevelopment of the downtown, and a riverwalk through our downtown. At that point in time, there were no bike trails going to the downtown. There were those bike trails that were planned north of downtown and bike trails planned south of downtown. But nobody was talking about the downtown. So that's what I did. The Riverwalk Commission was adopted by the City Council in 1987, and we began meeting and came up with guidelines for the formulation of connecting these future bike trails, which we all know were built, and building of the Riverwalk. One of the items that we discussed was the dams on both branches of Stolp Island. And yes, if we don't moderate the dams and remodel them and make them more safe, which I think should be done if we're going to keep them, I would be in favor of having a feasibility study to see if that indeed is possible. I would think that's a good idea. Part of the Riverwalk plan was to demolish the North Avenue Dam, which we did in January of 2004. So that was part of the plan as well, to open up the river and make the environment of the river more economically and environmentally sound for all. So I would support that wholeheartedly.
Thank you for that question. Yes, I would also be in support of that. I think it would make the river a safer recreational activity type for everybody. People could actually go down the river like they go right now up the river, where they get to a levee, it rises, go on to the next place. And if you really have ever gone up the river, you would see a lot of people having fun. There's businesses along the river, attracts businesses, so you get jobs, you get taxes. All of that kind of plays together, because if you can say, hey, we have a river that you can canoe from point A to point C without any impedance, I think that's a plus. Now, the other thing I want to do also with the river is use it as hydropower for energy. If we use that for hydropower and energy to power certain buildings, imagine the savings. Thank you.
Yes, I would be in favor of a feasibility study to remove the dams. When I was on the Park District Board, we had talked about that with the state of Illinois, and the trend is to get rid of a number of dams up and down the Fox River. The dams were put there like 60, 70 years ago for a purpose that's no longer applicable in this day and age. And what this does, what the dams do, is they continue to bring up the brown silt at the bottom of the river. So as you look at the river where it may look like it's clean, or it may look brown, it's actually clean, but it's that silt that keeps coming up, and that's because of the dams. So if you remove the dams, the likelihood of making it more aesthetically pleasing is certainly going to be there. There's really no reason for it anymore, so I would absolutely support that.
I also would support the feasibility study. There are certainly issues with regards to having dams. They're dangerous, people drown. And certainly there's arguments that they're not at all good for the environment, such as backing up the contaminants behind the dams, and also that they cut off the migration of fish and other life. And yeah, they certainly aren't really good for canoe shoots either. But anyway, yeah, it's worth looking into.
Yes, I would support a feasibility study to removing the dams, and I would actually help blow them up if it went that far, that we could get it done. I believe that the river has to have a much more active role in our life around here as one of our diamonds that we've always talked about. Imagine like smaller like docks up and down the river so people could tie up their boats or canoes or even small little wave runners, and then stop in and have lunch downtown. Really, you know, what a concept to really use the river. How about putting a water curtain so we could put movies upon that and use the River Edge Park really as an open air movie theater? They do it in Jerusalem. It costs $100,000 to do. I think if every alderman who gets over $75,000 per ward fund, if we all chip in, we could do that, and imagine how many people would be attracted just to our downtown area because it's so beautiful.
I would go further than the feasibility study. They need to be taken down. It's just a matter of time. But one of the reasons that they are there is because this casino is floating on that water. And it would have to be a program to bring the casino out of downtown up to the expressway where it is much more economically feasible. I'm probably one of the few people that was shut down because I was trying to do recreation along the river. You'll look at my deck behind my building. In the river, there is a platform there that we're putting in a canoe dock so that people could get out and go up into Treadwell Cafe, which is one of my tenants. I've always looked at the river as the prime source of entertainment in downtown. We need to use it. We need to clean it up. We need to get rid of the dams. And we have to make it an integral part of our downtown. You know, with San Antonio and some of the other cities having used their water resources as a means to turn around downtown, it's a primary factor in bringing around downtown. So yes, I would go further than just a feasibility. Let's get rid of it.
I would totally be in support of a feasible study and looking into the removal of the dams. One, mainly because of the fish and the animals that live inside of those waters. When we break off their migration and we force them into a lifestyle that's not theirs, that's like someone impeding on your life and saying that, hey, I control what you are, and I don't think that's right. I think, fish do deserve the same rights as us, and, not exactly, but, what I mean. But I think that the one thing that we need to look at is our canoe chute. I think it's undervalued here, and it is definitely something that we could reestablish and work on opening up. And one thing we need to work on is removing the dams. The dams, like previously stated, were put in place 60 years ago and served no purpose as they would have back then. So I'd totally be in favor of looking into the opportunity to remove those dams.
Thank you. Next question goes to candidate Cuevas first, and that question is, would you support the library having an elected board?
Definitely yes. When I was first contacted about the library board possible move by Jim, he said, where do you stand? I said, I'm not in favor of it moving. I think it's a great place. It's attached to a school. I've been there. I've seen kids walk over from the school to the library and wait for the parents to get there. Or they start studying, or they start doing their homework. Now, right now, it's appointed. I think we need transparency from the board. There was a lot of shenanigans going on with the board. And I would favor them being elected opposed to being appointed. Also, I would love to see all the minutes that they have and why the reason and the people that were behind trying to move it. I think that was a bad idea to begin with from the beginning. I didn't jump on board after the fact. I was against it from the beginning for it moving at all because of the concern of all the citizens that I've heard around the area, the people that contacted me. You gotta understand, I'm an activist. So when something comes up like this, I get involved from the beginning. I don't jump on board afterwards or after the fact. And I try to find out as much information as I can and make an intelligent decision. And that's what I'll be doing as your alderman too. Thank you.
I would support the library being an elected board. I think anybody that has fiscal responsibility should be an elected person. Appointed boards are good in certain spots, but not when you're dealing with people's money, taxpayers' money. There was a bill proposed by Representative Kifowit. When people propose bills, I would like to see in the future that they actually talk to the people that it affects. So going forward, I hope a bill comes forward where there's collaboration between whatever representative puts it forward and the city of Aurora and the township who's it going to affect and the actual library. If you don't get collaboration, you're not going to get a good product and you're going to get a bill that's going to be messy. But the thought of having an elected board is absolutely a great idea. When I was on the Park District Board, it was appointed, and it should never have been. We were one of two boards in the state, the Chicago Park District, that was appointed, and it was wrong. And when I got on, I was an advocate of having it elected. Why would you have it elected? I'm dealing with people's money. I'm spending taxpayers' money. So I've always been an advocate of that purpose, of that, to do that with those type of boards, and this would be no different, except I want to see a good bill come across where everybody chimes in so we get it right the first time.
Yes, I support having an elected board for the library. I got involved in this pretty early in the game, and I had the privilege of passing petitions in support of giving citizens why does this always echo for me? Giving citizens the opportunity to have a referendum. At that point, the only referendum that was available was an advisory referendum on whether or not to move the library. I made my position clear at that point in time that I thought it should stay where it was at. And I was present when we went and took those petitions that we had circulated and filed them with the school. So, one of the things, though, I want to tell you, another reason, though, that I think the library should be elected board was currently their budget does come before the city council. And my Fifth Ward representative did sit on the committee that got to review that budget. He didn't ask questions, but I had questions and I wanted to see the budget. I wandered around and I went to 3 different offices in the city and nobody could give me a copy of the budget. One of the things I want to tell you about Aurora is I am concerned about the way it is so difficult to get information, whether it's a copy of plans that would explain maybe why I've got some water in my garage, or it's a copy of what's going on for building and changing zoning 2 houses away at Aurora University. We need to make Aurora more transparent. We need our decisions to be swifter. We need our government to be more efficient.
Yes, an elected library board would be good as long as they're not paid. Volunteer time, if you really want to be a part of this community. You know, we always feel that experience from life gives us the ability to then serve because we've been there, right? We've raised children, we went through these things, and we know what it takes to do that successfully. Hopefully I have 2 daughters, one's 33, the other one's 26, and they're both professional. One's a teacher for a not-for-profit medical musical inside Boston. The other one's a professional physical therapist and getting their master's in health administration. So I'm very proud of them. And they learned from the libraries. In Oak Park, I grew up in Oak Park. Oak Park was a great resource for libraries. We do a lot of things out there, and I'd like to see those continue here. And I want to make sure that the West Library has the resources they need. I'd like to really see that stay open. I think we could do better.
I'd like to see it elected. It would force them to be more responsible to the public. And the elected board members would have to justify their decisions and come to you, and if you didn't like it, of course, you get rid of them. As it is now, they sit there and they can wait out any scandals and just keep on going the way they want. It would allow a change in direction. If you don't like where the board is going, you re-elect somebody that will represent you. One point that I'd like to have is, though, as with a lot of other committees, that they would be coming under an ethics ordinance, so that if they do something wrong, there's actually someone you can turn to. I've been on committees where they changed the election results, where they've done all kinds of shenanigans, that you really can't go against it because there's nobody there that really reacts to it. So I would go for elected board. They'd have to come under the same ethics regulations as everyone else in government. Probably be better to pay them because then they'd have to take a responsibility for their decisions instead of just be some people that enjoy it but don't really have any professionalism behind them.
I would fully support the idea if it was brought forth on the city council to make it an elected board, because I believe that there are a lot of people, as we've noticed ever since we have the whole Let's Keep the West Branch Library, which I support fully. I think that we've seen that there is a outreach of people that truly do care about the library here in the city of Aurora. So I feel there would be even enough competition for an election to be held for those people to actually run as candidates and run off their ideas, and then we as citizens and voters would be able to appropriate our ideas and communicate with those candidates and reason and see who we would like to support on that board. I think whether it's paid or if it's no payment, as just a free gig, I think that it's one way to look forward to implementing a system where everyone is, getting the voice to be heard, and we're not just gonna say, okay, let's move this library, and we're not gonna listen to what the citizens want.
Well, let me begin by saying that I was in favor of the Fox Drive Park District to go to go from an appointed board to an elected board, and actually voted in favor of that as well. So of course, yes, I would be in favor of the library board becoming elected. I too would be in favor of our elected representatives in Springfield to work with us as a community to formulate the best policy to be able to implement this. And I would think we need to take into account the people living in the township, because right now they do not have library privileges. But I think those are some of the details that can indeed be worked out in favor of the community.
Thank you. We're going to go to audience questions now, so I'll remind the candidates that you'll have 1 minute for your responses, please. And we'll start with the first one for candidate Franco. And that question is, what can be done to help guarantee that oil tanker train cars pass through the city, especially downtown, safely?
Well, that's one we're gonna have to talk with our state and federal governments on. I mean, that's not something that Aurora can do by itself. Certainly, I believe nationwide this has been a problem. We had an incident here a few years ago with Aurora. There's been some incidences in other parts of the country. So I don't think this is something that's not important and not in the limelight right now. But I do believe that if we talk to our state, federal, and local municipalities what each one needs based on what they have, I think we can work something out. We got to get our state legislatures involved. We have to get our congressmen, whether it be Foster, whoever, involved with that. But I think it's one of those things that we just need to talk with everybody and see what each person's responsibility is, what each entity's responsibility is, and then work from there.
Actually, there is something specific we can do, and that is we need to do inspections of our bridges in downtown Aurora. I did have the privilege of attending a talk about this particular issue, I don't know, a year or two ago. The most frightening thing is the state of those train overpasses, underpasses, whatever you want to call them. And quite honestly, if a train falls off, if one of those bridges goes down, you don't want to think about how big the explosion is going to be. So honestly, I think we should be proactive. I think that we should invest some money in making inspections of those bridges. And if it turns out that those inspections show that the trains need to stop, we make it obvious to the whole damn world the trains need to stop until they fix it.
Yeah, I agree that there's a disaster just waiting to happen. They just had it up where in Canada recently where one of those oil tankers exploded and almost took out a whole city up there. The problem is, I mean, this has been going on for a while. Mayor Weisner even talked about this with CNX to do stuff. Is there no real simple answer? It's a federal issue, Alderman, and we have to get to the federal people like Foster. But most of all, we have to start really talking to our state reps also. And stop having lobbyists that we pay to go there. We're supposed to be Alderman. We're elected. We should be going down to Springfield and demanding representation of our needs and not paying a lobbyist $1.5 million for the last 10 years for doing that. That gave us nothing.
I don't think there's any guarantees in life. The responsibility for them is on the federal, state level, and he's right that we need to push for the state and federal level representatives to represent our interest here. My concern, though, is of the viaducts, which does come under the view of the local government. They need to inspect it. In fact, they need to go further than that, and the viaduct system is a major component of downtown. And it is so ugly and so run down that programs should be put together to at least beautify it, to bring it back so that it is more of an attraction than a detriment to coming downtown. So we do have to work on it, and more as a cosmetic thing and a structural issue thing.
Thank you.
One thing I think anyone here who is an Illinois resident would realize is that we have our infrastructure, and unfortunately, it is crumbling. Luckily, here in the city of Aurora, our bridges are in pretty good shape. Not the best, but they're sustainable. And looking at the railroad tracks, I think it's important that we do look at the viaducts and making sure that there is at least yearly inspections on these viaducts and on the railroad tracks, making sure that they are in conditions that are appropriate for these trains to properly get along to their destination throughout the city of Aurora. But I would say that the one thing we have to work on is making sure that we keep our bridges and keeping our streets here in the city of Aurora in maintained condition, making sure that we stick ahead of the problem and making sure we don't fall behind and create the problem ourselves.
I too attended the meeting in January of 2016 to discuss this in the city that Mayor Weisner hosted. Right now we have a plethora of taker cars coming through Aurora every day, over 120,000. And that means there's a potential for, God forbid, explosions, property damage, and loss of life, like we have seen in other communities across our nation. Although progress is being made, we still have more work to do, and Senator Durbin is trying to get what is called the FAST Act approved through the Senate. And that would require, with his bill, cars equipped with thermal jacket and aiding in a longer burn time around these cars, and making sure that if accidents occur, that if these cars go off the tracks, and we all know that happens, that they won't explode and cause damage. And I think that's really an important issue for our community.
Thank you for that question. I think it's a twofold thing here. The first one is to work with our Building, Grounds, and Infrastructure Committee in the city. The second thing would be to work it at a state level and also the federal level. Working with state representatives and Congress is very important, and having a rapport with them is very important. That way you can get your ideas as far as legislation to put forth with innovative safety innovations towards that problem. I've worked with quite a few, and I have good contacts with both state and federal level. Being sent to Washington, D.C. as part of LACLA taught me a lot about lobbying. We lobbied as a nonprofit organization. That's very key nationwide. And then doing that, we take away the lobbyists, the money, and we put forth legislation that has benefited the community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question goes first to candidate Kunkel. And the question is, what would you do specifically to make Aurora government more transparent?
Thank you. Well, there are a number of things. First of all, just to make it a little more obvious, I would suggest that whatever filings there are with the State Board of Election, that there be a link between those filings and the elected officials' city pages. Secondly, by the way, I think it'd be nice if the website worked all the time. Makes me crazy. In addition, 15 seconds. Well, I guess I'm going to have to leave it at that.
Can you repeat the question, because I didn't hear it?
What would you do specifically to make Aurora government more transparent?
I'd actually pass an ethics law instead of putting it on hold for 6 months like they just did. You know, if somebody just collected $163,000 in campaign contributions coming from vendors and contractors, I'd make sure that no one that has a contract or wants to be a vendor with the city of Aurora can give money to any candidate. I'd also implement term limits. 2 terms for a mayor, 3 for an alderman. I think we need new excitement and vitality always on city council, because we see what happens when you have somebody there for 3 decades, 4 decades. Nothing happens, nothing changes, fiefdoms occur. Ethics are key to making Aurora better.
For this one, this is a fun one for me. I just finished off suing second time Waubonsee Community College, winning at the Illinois Supreme Court level, opening up the FOIA possibilities. Waubonsee had limited what information they could give, and then they limited what it's called burdensome. And if you ask for some information, if it's too hard for them to get, they claim it's burdensome, and they don't have to give it to you. So we went to the Illinois Supreme Court and reversed all the decisions and blew open the FOIAs. Now, also on the city council, we need to report the individual votes. As it is right now, the alderman can hide behind everyone else. We also have to report the full minutes instead of just summaries. And I agree that ethics laws have to be revised, but not just for aldermen that are being elected, but in a broad extent for everyone that is working for the government.
I think transparency is key. Transparency is a way to show everyone that you truly care, because you are not hiding behind a closed door, and you're not afraid to answer any question, even if it's a tough question, even if you may not know the full answer. At least being able to say that you'll get back to them, and you will give them an appropriate answer at an appropriate date and time. I think one way I could improve and bring forth a new way of looking at it would be by offering videos after city council meetings on decisions of why I voted for this and why I voted for that I could post on a Facebook page or a Twitter page. That way, constituents have the ability to see a video that may be just a few minutes long, that they'd be willing to watch and listen to what I did that day for them. Because it's not always, easy for someone to catch a full hour-long video or go to City Hall and catch the City Hall meetings.
Yes, being open and having ethics in government is very, very important. That's key, and I've always done that as alderman of the 6th Ward. In terms of what I've done personally, I've always had town hall meetings. I do that every year. I go to neighborhood meetings. Sometimes I call them, sometimes I'm invited. And I've also bring city staff there to answer any questions or concerns that people have. And I will continue to do that if reelected as alderman. Let me also say that Aurora was recently voted the 18th best run city in the United States with a population of over 150,000 people. That says a lot. We have ordinances and provisions in place that require a plethora of documents to be released and open to the public and posted online. We disclose statements of economic interest, outside of employment, board meetings, agendas, minutes. We also have detailed information about city contracts and the bidding process and mandatory ethics training for our employees. And we also have live stream of city council meetings, so you can view them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Transparency is very important. I think the ethics ordinance that was being put forth is very important to actually get down to the bare bones of it. Having contribution limits. Right from the beginning, I stated that I would not take any contributions whatsoever from any company that does business with the city. And I will continue to do that. I think it's very important that we are not influenced in any way, shape, or form, or they expect anything from us. If you can't be elected and not take money from these big corporations, there's a problem. You can get small contributions. Why do we need so much money in politics? We need to get money out of politics. It would keep us honest. Thank you.
Well, I think I have to piggyback what Alderman Seville said. There's a number of ordinances and laws that we abide by to keep people informed. I think what we need to do, and what I have been doing, as Alderman Seville said too, is I have a number of monthly meetings. I have a Facebook page. I have a newsletter. I let everybody know what's going on. So that transparency, really what it relates to is getting information from the government to the people. what I think we need to do in addition is educate the community on where to find the information they're looking for. So if they say something it's not transparent, but it's there, then we need to show them on the website where to go on the State of Illinois website, because a lot of that information is there, they just don't know. And I understand that, because it's not normal for everybody to know exactly where all the information is. But the education process of where the information they're looking for is out there, and we just gotta let them know where it is.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions tonight. We do want to get out of here by about 9. So we're going to start with closing statements from the candidates. And as you recall, you have 2 minutes each for your closing statement. And the first closing statement will come from candidate Harrington.
Well, again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and Kara Tidwell for moderating this great event. And I really want to thank you all for coming out here tonight. This is not an easy thing to be involved, as we know. Because things happen when people show up, and we see when things don't happen. Aurora's really at a tipping point. We have over 200,000 people here, but we are the highest in violent crimes of a city our size. We had 866 last year. The development that they promised doesn't really come. They won't give us $1 million, but they want to give $5 million away. We have 15,000 registered sex offenders here with a small police department, and right now we're missing 4% due to that tragedy at Henry Platt. Where, in my opinion, we have 5 new angels on the streets of heaven: Trevor, Joshua, Clayton, Vicente. These are people that our system failed. But we are born again. We are renewed by this. We know that we can do this. We know that we have high hopes and better ideas yet to come. And I wish to bring that for the 6th Ward and Aurora itself. I work with the state legislator on writing legislation like the LaSalle Street tax that will take $1 from every transaction done in the exchanges. So this way we don't have to raise property taxes, sales taxes, or income taxes. Get it back from the bankers who took it from us back in '09 and try to take our futures. We need to get it back from them, not from the people. We can't keep robbing Peter to pay Paul. We have a need for real energy and a real new vision. Do we keep looking at the past thinking things will get better? Einstein once said, to do something over and over again and expect different results is insanity. Remember, we've been enabling. And what is that acronym? VOTEMEOUT 2019. And I'm Matt Harrington, and I want to be your alderman for the 6th Ward.
I too would like to thank everybody. It was a major effort, I'm sure, to bring everyone here and coordinate everything else. And on a side note, I'd like to thank my mom. It was her 90th birthday yesterday, so we were out celebrating yesterday. So, hi, Mom. But basically, I think I'm the best candidate for Aurora, and especially the 6th Ward. I've proven that I can get things changed. I've proven that I can bring up areas. If you look at my website, danheights.com, there's a full slate of things that I would like to institute that would bring up Aurora and bring things around to the city of lights again instead of the city of gloom. Again, for 30 years, the 6th Ward has stagnated. You know, the per capita incomes drop, the schools are going bad, the area is on the tipping point down. We need fresh blood. We need people in there that have fresh ideas. If you look at it downtown right now, praise Irving a little bit in that he's new blood and new efforts. So you're seeing all these new developments coming in because we've had a change of management. And that's what the 6th Ward needs, is a change of management. People, regardless of who they are, that have new ideas and new energy and new effort instead of just relying upon the past, and that have the plans that they can carry out and get things done. Thank you. And again, I'm Dan Heights.
I want to first off by thanking everyone, including the League of Women Voters, for putting this event on today, the Aurora Police Department for allowing us to use their facilities, and all of the members out here in the crowd that were able to come out tonight. It shows a true democracy that we all come out to these events, because it empowers us to learn more about all candidates being brought forth on the table and letting everyone make their best decision. Now, a few things that weren't touched that I'd like to work on if I was elected with the city council would be working on getting more solar panels established within the city. I think it would be a wonderful way to implement maybe putting solar panels on top of our city hall and other buildings that we own currently within the city that are city owned, by reducing the energy costs and converting that over to solar energy. I also think it would be a wonderful addition if we could relight the Northgate Shopping Center sign that has been left kind of, in the dark for a long time. And I think if we were able to relight that sign by using conventional energy with the help of solar energy, we could bring back some life to the Northgate area and show that, there is some life going downtown. Don't be afraid to keep traveling down Lake Street, because you're gonna come into a great coffee shop. You're gonna come into a few different businesses. You're gonna realize that we have a brand new library that was built that is offers many amenities that other libraries in the area don't. I think that Aurora is a place that anyone can raise a family in. I think our schools are not in the decline. I think that we are on the upward bound. And my name is Matthew Orr, and I'm running for 6th Ward Alderman.
I too would like to conclude and thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and all of you that came out tonight, and all of you that are watching. I have, as I mentioned earlier, decades of dedication working on behalf of the 6th Ward and the city of Aurora. No one on this panel has a number of projects and implemented a number of policies for the city of Aurora as I have. I'm running a very open and transparent campaign, and you can see that on my website. Again, very catchy name, MikeSevilleForAlderman.com. Please take the time to go there and view. I have over 30 years of items, specifically ordinances, resolutions, and policies that I've been able to implement, and you can see what I've done on behalf of the city. Having served the people of Aurora, as I mentioned, since 1980, being on the Planning Commission, and 1985 being as an alderman, I'm the only candidate that has the experience, leadership, and vision, and again, with decades of dedication to get the job done. I don't need on-the-job training. Once elected, if elected, I can hit the ground running once again. And I want to say that with all the development that I mentioned with regard to the downtown and what's going to happen in the next year and a half, the downtown is back, and it's better than ever. And I'm very proud of being a part of that. And also, I'm here to announce that in the last 7 years, I've been able to have constructed 6 new parks for the people in my ward. I've been all about quality of life. The newest one is going to be opening in Palace Street Park behind the old Carsons. I just gave a donation out of my ward fund in the amount of $20,744 for a new shelter for the families that will be going there. And I think that's what it's all about. Safe neighborhoods, quality of life, open and transparent government, and good people as your representative. I urge you to vote, and I urge you to vote for me, Mike Seville. Thank you.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters, everybody here, because it shows that you care about the community just as I do. That's the reason I'm running. I really care about the city and about our community, and I will do everything in my power to do the best decisions that I can. When I vote, if I am elected for alderman, I'm going to be asking a couple questions. Is it financially sustainable, and how will it affect and impact taxpayers and our environment also? I will also be asking, does it benefit the residents and families of Aurora? How will it impact us? One other thing that I do want to say is that I will be making informative decisions. I will also be holding forums, also meetings. I thank Carl Franco because he set up an office to talk to people. I think that's very important. I will continue that if elected. I also want to say that our elected officials need to be contested. It kind of lights a fire under them. It keeps them saying, okay, I need to step up my game. Because if I don't step up my game, somebody else is going to get elected. My name is Casoto Cuevas, Casey, for all my friends and you, and I will be running for 5th Ward Alderman. Thank you.
I want want to thank the Legal Movement voters for putting this on tonight, and I also want to thank the residents for coming out. Thank you for lighting the fire under me. But I do want to say that I am supported by labor, I'm supported by the business community, I'm supported by the local Realtors Association, I was endorsed by the Daily Herald, and there's reasons for all that. Prior to me becoming the alderman in the 5th Ward, we never had a newsletter in the 5th Ward. We do now, and other aldermen are copying. It's such a success. We never had neighborhood groups in the 5th Ward. We do now. We never used social media to disseminate information. We do now. I'm the only alderman in the city of Aurora to secure a meeting space for others to use, not only the neighborhood groups, but the HOAs, the Cub Scouts use it, the Garden Club uses it. We let everybody in the community use it. It's a wonderful thing to have. I initiated a residential grant program, which other aldermen are copying now, which helps residents to enhance their neighborhoods, and I contribute matching funds when they do so. We never had monthly meetings with the Aurora Police Department as we do now with the Area 1, and Bill Donnell and Mike Sedil and I do that once a month, which is near and dear to my heart because I'm a law enforcement administration major from Western Illinois back about 100 years ago. I suggested, and I want to say this too, in 2015 when I got elected, shortly thereafter, actually the first day after I got elected, I contacted one of the school board members and I said, I understand you people are looking to move from downtown Aurora to take your administration building somewhere. Why don't you consider the Dryer Complex on the west side? 5 months later it was announced. I worked with the West Plaza Property Management Company to bring businesses there, and West Plaza is starting to regenerate, being vibrant again. We have a number of things going in there. I worked with a group from the West Side Development to resurrect a project out by Deer Path. So what I want to say is that I've done more for the first 4 years than most people have done. That's been told to me by a number of people, and this is my full-time job. This is my only job, and I give all the time to the residents. Thank you.
I'm really impressed. I didn't realize there'd never been a meeting in Aurora before Alderman Frank Cook got elected. But in any event, I am running to uplift Aurora because I'll tell you what I see. I see economic erosion. And when I go around door to door, everybody I talk to is upset about it. They're concerned about the fact that West Aurora Plaza, we don't see much going on. And the fact that the Cub Foods has been vacant for about a decade, I have an idea on that, and that's to turn it into an exhibit hall, just like we use the King County Fairgrounds now for exhibits. And then to expand on that and make West Aurora Plaza a hub for dining and entertainment. Now, what you're not hearing is the fact that Aurora as a city does not have a comprehensive plan. Okay, in 1984, they made a nice map that called it Interim and never did anything with it. That's something that Kane County's had for a long time. I have had a lot of experience working on that with them. And that's something that we need to bring to Aurora. Because you know what? If we don't have a vision, if we don't have a goal, we're never gonna get there. And that's what I'm finding out on the west side of Aurora. I have new ideas too, and not just that, but the whole tourism, the river. Yeah, I didn't invent the river, but certainly the idea of working with other communities up and down the river to promote bike tourism, I did that. That's why I got voted by the folks at the committee as that's big idea. I don't have much time left to say, but I think it's important to also respect the citizens of Aurora, including the veterans and the LGBTQ community and everyone. I will respect your finances and yourselves. Elect me.
Thank you. Well, that ends tonight's forum, but we have many people to thank. First of all, the audience here tonight. Your quiet attention and thoughtful questions were very, very appreciated. The Aurora Police Department, please, feel free. The Aurora Police Department for the use of this wonderful facility, ACTV for recording the forum, and The Voice for live streaming on Facebook. The league members who put this forum together. Perhaps most of all to the candidates. Without your willingness to participate and put yourself out there, we cannot hold forums like this. So thank you, and let's give them a round of applause, please. If you are interested in information about the league, there are brochures on the table outside, as well as candidate brochures if they brought them here tonight. Lastly, perhaps most importantly, please be sure to vote on or before April 2nd. Thank you.